You have to be willing to look stupid. Like, if you're not willing to look stupid, you will not go from being new at something to ever being good at it. And if you can't make peace with that, then you'll just never try anything new. You'll never get out there. And that goes with any sort of creative endeavor or learning. I was joking because my wife's like, you just talk to people all day. And I was like, well, things that are easy for me, like talking to 200 people,
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. Like it, whatever. Because it's just sort of natural. Other things are very hard for me that are easy for other people. But these types of convos, well, I like them for starters, which is automatically you're ahead of the game. You don't feel like you're working. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk to Brad and Ryan. I don't know much about them. I'm interested in what they know. I like talking about this stuff and just rolling with it, seeing where it goes. And then what I always say is like, hey, if you're in charge of this convo, like if you want to cover something or you don't, I'll talk about Company Cam, but I'm not trying to do a big sales pitch or that, because that's also boring to me versus just like, hey, let's just talk about stuff that we all find interesting. And I think that's, like Ryan, you said it, that is, people enjoy that. That's what they're going to come back for. I can already tell, like, that's at least roughly how you guys roll, based on how this started versus sometimes you get on here.
Yeah. No, I was actually hoping we could pull up your website and you could just do a full tutorial of your product for us. That'd be a good use of our time.
You guys a affiliate check.
There we go.
So, Luke, I was reading on your website. I went and I found the About Us page, which was a little hidden. That you kind of come from the trades, from the contracting world, and I think roofing is that right?
Yep.
What?
Yeah. So, sorry,
I was going to say, what was that like growing up working in a family business? What was that like for you?
It's all I really knew. I remember my dad coming home from work, roofing houses at it's 6 o'clock, and just that smell of kind of like the tar, just that you've been working outside all day, and playing catch and stuff. And then I finally, probably at an illegally young age, maybe 13 I started going to working for him in the summer, and you're just, at first you're just cleaning the site, and then you graduate to ripping off the shingles. Eventually you graduate to nailing down the shingles, and just, I kind of I've done every job essentially that you can do at a local roofing business. And, we grew, in high school, it was me and my buddies roofing houses. And then we had one other crew. And I think now, because I'm old, they've got, I don't know, they've got 100, 150 people. It's just a much bigger operation. It changed over time. And so there was always new things to kind of figure out and do. And that's what I like the most, is that kind of, not just repeating the process, which you have to do, it's crucial, but trying to solve a new problem or solve a problem in an interesting way. And we had that there. And then that's how Company Cam started, was looking at a problem we had and saying, gosh, there's got to be a way around this. And so that's how I ended up here.
What was your relationship like with the family business as a teenager? I remember I never really had a choice as to whether I was coming to the job site to work from, a very young age, probably similar age. And I really hated it as a young person. I mean, it was a way to make money, and Dad paid me better than I probably would have gotten at Quiznos, which, if you're old enough, you remember Quiznos.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever my friends were doing at the time. What was that like? I mean, when you're 15, 16 years old, you and your friends are working on houses, you're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm learning the business is what I'm going to do when I get up. Or is it just like when I grow up, or is it just like, this is what, we're making some money now, having a good time. Who knows what the future holds?
Oh yeah. No, I was never a lifer, meaning I just never thought that's what I would do. This is what I was doing because it was our family business, because it was, I don't know if it was actually expected, but I definitely felt like that's just what we were going to do. I was going to roof.
Mm-hmm.
And then and it did pay better than like some other thing. And we worked
Yeah.
all together. You know, you worked really hard and you were also super lazy. So we wanted to get done. Like we wanted to get done that day so that we could like go to the pool or just do something else, because it's going to be, roofing is terrible. It's so hot. It just sucks. Like it's hard and it sucks. And I didn't want to do it ever, but I also don't remember thinking like I've got it particularly worse than anyone else, or I wish I was
Yeah.
doing something else other than just not working. Because I think I'm very talented at being naturally lazy. And so yeah, I see I have two younger brothers. My middle brother, I think he kind of knew definitely as he went through college, oh, I'm going to work at this business and like we're going to grow this over time. And he had this vision of the future of what the family roofing business could be. And a lot of the growth over there, I attribute to him and like his desire to grow and just willingness to be like, oh, we can do commercial roofing. We can figure this out and do it, versus me, who was interested in the interesting problems like the marketing, sales, that kind of stuff, but I never had a long view of what that would be. And I had to actually every year, like through college, and then I worked for him after college for a while. Every year he would like put me on the spot to be like, are you going to be here next year? Because I would randomly go travel in Central America for a couple months, or my wife and I lived in Spain for a year. And so it was like I was kind of in and out, more in than out, but definitely I looked at it as just a job, not a career or something. Even though I did care about it a lot, it just, I don't know. I remember driving around and thinking I can listen to 5 hours of podcasts a day when I'm out driving out measuring people's roofs and
Yeah.
selling roofs, and that like I liked a lot of those elements of it, but I just didn't. My mind space was not focused on how can we grow this business and that kind of thing. It was just sort of elsewhere. Bitcoin, politics, whatever else.
Yeah. Now that's how it kind of started for me when I was cleaning, was because I cleaned roofs and gutters for 6 years before I did anything else. And it was like, okay, year one, it's like, oh great, I get to listen to music and whatever all day. And like year two, it's like, man, I'm tired of listening to music. It's like, okay, what
Yeah.
podcasts or books are there? And it's like, okay, year 3 and 4, I'm like, I've listened to like every book I can think of that I want to listen to. And then it's like, now what? And that's when it got hard for me. That's when I started looking for other things. I was like, yeah, I like the work, and there's certainly something satisfying. I'm assuming it's the same way as like roofing. Like there's a satisfying thing about you go from like a destroyed old nasty roof to the end of the day or the end of the week, like you have your finished product, right?
Oh,
There's
end
the
of the
before,
day. Yeah.
end of the day. There's the before and after of that you can like visibly see, and that's what I always liked about, like, people ask me like, how do you like cleaning gutters, or how do you like cleaning like moss off of roofs? I'm like, well, it's like, because it's like satisfying. You work with your hands, you get something done, but day in and day
Oh, and
out,
it's
over and over
concrete.
again.
Like you
Yeah,
see it at the end of the
yeah.
day. I have X number of meetings every day, and we sign new people up for this app. Like things happen, but any given day, in a sense, runs into the next, into the week, the month, the quarter. And there isn't, now we do release new feature. There's times where you're like, yes, we really did something, but
Hmm.
that daily, I mean, that feedback of like there was something here that was old, dirty, disgusting, or broken, and now it is nice, new, clean, fixed,
Hmm.
is satisfying to just stand back and look at it. And I actively miss that part of it, but there's a lot of the rest of it I don't miss, because
Well,
it's hard
that
work, and after a while you're like, gosh, I'm
yeah,
working really hard here. What else could I be doing?
right. Well, that's why you watch your rug cleaning videos on YouTube or
Yeah.
TikTok, or whatever you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where you get your fix.
Yeah. So, best and worst parts about being in a family roofing business. Best and worst part.
Gosh, I mean, the worst part is it's a roofing business, and then people are like, "Oh, hey, can you go cook me up with my roof? Hey, can you help me roof my house or whatever?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to roof your house.
Yeah.
I'll give you a decent price, but like, I don't want to roof houses. I don't want to roof your house, certainly for free on my spare time." I mean, the best part, like working for my dad was just good. Like he's a good guy. Like he's honest. He's playing the long game of just like treating people right and just good values, and in seeing him run that business and working for him, I think just affected me. You know, it's some of that stuff you don't even realize at the time till like you have kids, and then you're running a business. But I just really liked, like, and I believed in it. Like I believed that we were going to do a good job for people, that this was like that, and that yes, that we were in a sense the best around, and working for him was great. So that to me, that's the best. But like I not being excited about the future, I don't want to say excited. That's not quite the right word, but like now I spend a lot of my mental extra energy thinking about this business because it's really interesting, and I like imagining the future of it. I really like. And I think if you can find an area, even if that's just like a part of your business, the sales, the marketing, the you name it, that's such a valuable, important piece that I just didn't really have there. I just never found that.
Are you an entrepreneur today because of your father, though?
That's a good question. You know, quite possibly. You know, my mom is also, well, she's definitely quirkier. I think I have more of her personality. I I was just a sort of unmotivated person in the sense of career. Like growing up roofing, like I was going to be okay doing that. And I would, get excited about other stuff, or I would come up with some little hustle of like arbitrage, buying and selling something. I liked that, but I didn't I didn't have like a career I was aiming at or something like that. And so let's say this literally yes, because he funded this business. So quite
Yeah.
literally, absolutely yes, that is true. I think personality wise, it's more my mom, of this kind of like just her like way of thinking and way of being. Um, but there is something where when you are around someone who's running a business, it all just seems possible and practical, like you could do it. My thought, I looked at it and thought, this looks terrible. Like, there's so much work and stress and people and headaches. Like, it looked like way more work than I wanted, quite honestly. And that I didn't care about the almost like the reward of like the growing your own business, when I saw how hard it is to manage a contracting business of that variety, and the people, and it, and I don't know, I talk to people around our company now and telling them like, hey, like, look, it's hard to get work sometimes. You want to always grow, get more work. The actual hard part about this business is the fact that you've got all these people going out and doing the work. You have a new customer every day. You just have this super dynamic daily like thing that's at the precipice of being a headache at any moment, or biting you, or something's going wrong. And that is hard, and growing that is hard, and it's scary. The idea of like doubling in size, half the time you're thinking, I'm just going to double my problems, and is it worth getting this little bit more money to double my problems every day? And that, I like saw that and thought, ooh, that just, and it's not he. I don't think he was suffering. He was sort of better at that operational kind of, and just like dealing with it all as it came, and all of that, which definitely I did affect me. But it's then once I got, to me, this business of company cam is like a, to me it was just like you're making a little product, you're making an app, and then it became a business over time. And that's when I kind of more and more appreciated that, what I saw him doing at the roofing company, what I saw, how I saw him treating people and that stuff, and kind of realizing, oh, it is like I saw how hard it was and all that, but I kind of thought this was going to be easier. And it might be a little easier actually, but everything, whenever you get 200 people involved, like it's just not going to be easy. There's always going to be issues.
Tell me about the inception moment for Company Cam. Sorry, Ryan.
That's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, you know, we were taking these pictures. You're a contractor of whatever variety. I guarantee you have pictures of gutters, windows, floor, whatever it is on your phone,
Hmm.
mixed in with like all your personal photos.
Right.
And as one person, that's annoying. If you get a company of 20, then you can't find anything. And I had people, because I was trying to do the website and I was trying to manage the gutter and install portion, kind of the siding and gutters. And I had guys like handing me the little tiny SD card thing, that fits into the bigger one that
Hmm.
goes into your computer, straight out of their phone. And all the photos are named like image underscore 42069. They're all the same. You just
Yeah.
Hmm.
can't. And I was like, gosh, we couldn't find stuff. That was frustrating. And so I was talking to my brothers. And I was like, we're carrying around this supercomputer with a camera and GPS bolted onto it. This should just be something that's automatic. We go out, we take a picture, and it's automatically organized at that location under that address, and it's just saved, and no one has to think about it. No one has to upload it to the Dropbox. No one has to do anything other than just open this app and take a picture. And so we were kicking that around, and I think like there's a misconception about, I don't know if it's a misconception, but there's this idea that entrepreneurs are kind of these like sort of wildly positive people that just always believe that everything's going to work, that it's just all going to work out. It's not that there's no truth to that. You do have to like believe
Yeah.
in the possibility of that. But I think of myself as being pretty skeptical person, that okay, why why doesn't this exist? Why isn't this going to work? Do people actually want this? Like, it's easy to sell yourself a story that you're onto something or that everyone's going to want what you're making. And when I don't know, we were kind of going back and forth with this idea, and I just kept getting more and more convinced. Trying to kind of beat this idea up in my head. I'm like, no, we definitely need this. This would be good for us. I'm pretty sure other people want this too. Like, and I came to this point where I was like, this will work. We might screw it up. We might not be able to make the app, or all sorts of things could go wrong, but this is a good idea. I'm sure that this idea could work. And that's when we hired a dev shop to kind of build the initial version. And it started, I mean, they built us a prototype pretty quick, but like the software business is very different than the roofing business, and it took a while, trying to figure out how do we get customers, how do we he even had to think about the economics of it, because people pay you over time rather than right away. It's just the whole thing was just different enough, that we had got I would say got a little bit of a slow start, but um we're finishing well. I don't know, it's going better now.
So did you guys? Maybe this was lost in the story for me. Did you guys build out the app with the like intention of like, hey, this is going to be something good for us to use, or were
Mm.
you like, hey, this is something that I want to build to market and sell and make it its own product?
We definitely thought that this could be something we would sell. Like that
Mm,
that was the goal. But we
yeah.
wanted to start by saying, "Hey, if it doesn't work for us, we're not, is it going to work for anyone type of thing." But we
Mm,
started from the beginning of saying, "Oh, this could be something that we could sell, something that we could go to market with and offer to other people." We definitely were going that direction. But as we started out, it was just like, we got to just try it and figure out if it's going to work.
mm,
It makes me think about I don't know if you've read the book Burn the Boats.
Mm.
I can't think of the guy's name that wrote it. But in the book, he talks about proprietary insights. It's one of the things that he believes is such an advantage. What kind of advantage did it give you to be a contractor who had the problem you were solving versus kind of coming in from the outside and trying to solve a problem for contractors?
Oh yeah, that's gosh, that's a great question. So I've thought about this a lot, and I mean, like feeling the problem, like experiencing it on a daily basis, was important. Like in we knew, I knew that this was a problem, and that, yeah, you might be able to get some sort of CRM that you could upload photos into, but that when you can, that no one will use it if it's extra work. I think that was like the thing I was most certain of. Like, this has to actually be easier and actually faster. We can all, you can magically hand people all these folders, but if they even have to think after the fact, oh, I need to remember to put that thing in it. No, like, you're
Right.
going to lose enough stuff that it's just, that certainly it wasn't going to work for us. And so that, I don't know, that I had just knew that in my bones. Like, every step is an obstacle, and like, you just have to pull it out, and it just needs to be like, you're here, yep, okay, take pictures, and then everything else is automatic. So that was, I think, a big advantage from seeing the problem up close that we were experiencing, but then also being like committed that the most important part of the other side was that experience of doing it. You have to be able to get people to do this. You need to remove excuses, right? You can't give them an opportunity to have an excuse. So there's no excuses. It's easier, it's faster, it's there. And then we just wanted to solve this problem of like organization. And I think we lucked into, once we got it happening in an app of capturing and organizing these photos, and we kind of pulled it all out of folders and brought it in a feed so that you, as the owner, I'm watching these photos scroll across my computer screen, and you just have this level of like context of what is happening out at your jobs that you don't want to lose. Like, it's the hard, I still can't quite explain to people how valuable that is or what it feels like. I mean, I can try to tell stories and stuff, but like, when you're disorganized, it, you can be like, oh, I can't find things. Like, it's just, you can articulate that to yourself. When all of a sudden you're just seeing everything, no one wants to go back from that, but you almost can't explain it ahead of time, the type of, like, what that actually means to them. It's just like, there's this sort of almost like latent, I don't even know, anxiety when you're running one of these businesses of
Hmm.
like, at any moment something could go wrong. How's that job going over there? Are we going to finish over here? Did they get this material delivered? There's all these questions, and you're just wondering about it. And we just kind of like, by trying to solve this photo organization problem, we like lucked into solving this communication problem, which was, we were smart enough to do it, but we also, it wasn't that like we were so close to the business that we realized that. It almost was just like, well, if we got all the photos, we might as well give you an Instagram feed of them, type of thing. And that was almost like the best thing that we did. And yeah, I don't want to say dumb luck, because we're geniuses and everything, but
Right.
it certainly wasn't like part of this master plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting hearing you talk about roofers. I mean, I think all contractors are pretty much the same. Like, I'd imagine that's got to be a one of the hardest things to overcome with a new customer. Is, I think, in the contracting world, people have a pretty strong like resistance to change, and
Mm-hmm.
I think if you went to a contractor and said like, hey, if every morning when you get in your truck, you put this rock in your pocket, and I'll give you $20 extra for the day, like, do I have to really like? That's an extra step. I don't know if I want to. And I've got a good buddy who wanted to change the pay structure of his company, and he talked to employees over and over again. He's like we're going to switch from however we were doing it to this new way, and it's going to make you more money. And they're like, no, I think I just really want to stay hourly. Like, it's like, no, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how about this? I will do this for the 2 weeks. And at the end of those 2 weeks, whichever pay structure pays more, you can take that pay. He's like, but they're just like so resistant to even just like a little bit of change. And
Yeah.
do you
Well,
find that with the
yeah.
same way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The older I get, the more I see it in myself. But like, it's widely known that loss aversion is a stronger feeling than like the opportunity to gain something. Like, you will hold tighter onto something that and we're all. It's always easier for us, almost like, to see the risks and the downsides of a change than to imagine the upside or the opportunity. And I think that's just a human being thing. And I feel like I see it all the time. It's like, oh, we're really good at it could go wrong 7 which ways, but we're really bad at like seeing like, oh, what if it goes this way and then that could lead to this, like this leading to good things is just harder. And so, yeah, I when you were saying that about putting a rock in your pocket, I wanted to yell at you that you got to explain it to them, because I catch our marketing people writing this like save time, save money, grow your
Mhm.
business. And I'm like, if you
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't tell me how that's going to happen,
Right.
then I don't care. It's just marketing BS. I'm not
Yeah.
reading
Mhm.
it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. And that was like that uh that kind of element of like I was saying before, like, how do you show people that? And what we find is that a lot of times the business owner likes this idea, but then it's you got to get people to actually do it. And no one likes, I mean, no one really wants their process to change. Now, if you can make it clear, hey, you're doing XYZ right now, and you're not going to have to do that. It's like, oh, all this organization and data entry, gone. You just point your phone at things and you click a button and it's all there. It's all organized. It's there, but it does introduce a layer of accountability when all that's going through in real time. It's all can be seen by your boss, by manager, by the rest of the company. People don't want more accountability usually. Like accountability is good for someone working for you, but if you're getting more accountability going the other way, so that's always a struggle. Is that more accountability? But I made the choice very early on. If people We are going to try to sell to the people who can understand this and have this like kind of growth mindset about the future. And I'm just not going to argue with people about whether they should be taking photos or whether this is beneficial. Like, if you, I realized pretty quickly, there's people that get it. They get it right away. You
Mm-hmm.
start talking to them, you just give them a couple kind of like imagine this, or what if, your office person had access to all this right now, just that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah, that would be really helpful. Now, are they going to buy or not? You're uncertain. But trying to waste your energy selling every single person from day one when you're starting something new versus selling people who are not just more ready to buy, but just have that mindset that where you're going over a smaller hurdle because you'll wear yourself out. You'll just wear yourself out. In a sense, arguing with people that don't get it, whereas kind of just like figuring out how to find the people that get it is that is that is a recommendation of mine. If you're going to start something, how do you find the people that are going to want to and be ready to buy this versus finding yourself trying to fall over 7 different ways explaining it to people that just they're not the type of person who's going to do a new thing, you know?
Mhm.
And that's okay. That doesn't need to be everyone. It's a big world.
So do you focus then a lot of like marketing on like not necessarily the business owner, but the contractor who works for the business? Like, because I got to imagine that's the big pushback is a business owner. Let's say a roofing guy, he buys into it. He says, "Okay, I'm going to roll this out with my 4 crews," and he sends it out to the crews, and they're like, "I don't want to use this. I got another thing." And then the business owner comes back. He's like, "Hey, sorry, it's not working for us." And so, how do you
We
make that
Yeah.
leap?
Yeah, I mean, that is hard. Like getting them to use it. When they use it, they like it. It works for them. And
Mm-hmm.
it really does it works for everyone in a sense in that regard. Um yeah, we try to advertise and to speak to the benefits to the person in the field because
Mm-hmm.
the what they can have in their mind is like, oh, this like surveillance and blah blah. And it's like, no, this is a way for your company to be organized so everyone can do better and make more money. For one, like this is when it's good for the business, it's good for you, and it will be, it can be. Two is like this is a way to separate your personal life from work. Okay. So all of your work photos, they're not clogging up your phone. They're not taking up space or anything. They're going straight over here and you don't have to worry about it. Your own camera roll is yours now. You don't have any work photos in there. If you don't want
Mm-hmm.
to, you take those in company cam. And, uh, and that's been a, like, messaging to that person who's in a sense being made to use it has been helpful, but that is like the number one problem we run into when we sign up a new company is okay, like it's and it's almost like, how good of a manager are you? Because it fundamentally is a management problem. Can you get people to
Right.
follow the process that you lay out for them?
Hmm.
And we focus on, number one, explaining and helping even the manager, the owner, explain to their people how it is going to be good for everyone, and really believing that story. Because when you believe something, you can sell it. That from selling roofing to selling this app, like, if you really believe in what you're saying and the value of it, things are easy to sell. Whereas if you don't, or you're trying to come up with some kind of like half-cocked reason, that's when that just doesn't work nearly as well. So we want to help them understand why this is going to help their business and how everyone can do better because of this. And then we talk specifically about the benefits to them that are just sort of independent of the business, which, keeping your work separate from your personal life anymore, where we all just have like a smartphone, it's tricky, and everyone can relate to that. We just made a funny ad about it the other day, of scrolling through your camera roll. Gosh, you guys are marketing guys. We should dream one of these up, because
Yeah.
we were trying to imagine what would be. We're going to shoot this ad where one of our guys is scrolling through there, not like swiping through the whole roll, but kind of individual photos scrolling through. And like, what would be a type of weird thing, safe for work, that you could sort of scroll across, and the idea is that it would continue to get weirder. Like, maybe it's
Yeah.
them in a clown costume, something that, like, they're showing the customer
Yeah.
these photos of their house or whatever, and they feel obligated to explain these weird photos that they keep scrolling through of their personal photos. But like, everyone can relate to that. You're showing someone photos on your phone for work, and then you've got your personal photos mixed in there, and like, either way you go with that, no one likes that dynamic. And if you can offer them a way out of that, they will
Hmm.
take it.
Yeah, I
Yeah. No,
think.
no one wants to hand over the phone.
Oh
You gotta
my
make sure you're
goodness,
the one
no,
scrolling
right?
through it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't hand your phone to your mother, much less your customer, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
I think and mom, there's nothing on my phone.
Yeah, obviously. And
Obviously.
luckily we're after Thanksgiving
Yeah,
here.
for real. Uh I think you could almost like start that ad, and first it's like the first images that you come across that are not work are like, like the fun family stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, there's my kids and all that. But then, like you said, like the further you scroll in, like the more it's like, you're having to explain them, and like the explanations get a
Yeah.
little bit, and then, finally somewhere that ends in like some kind of a defeated, person, where just, like that there's no more. Okay, we're just going to put that away, and then I think that's the perfect, entrance for. Have you guys, and I haven't seen a ton of your ads. I've seen some of the stuff like you guys have put on your site about, you guys are very tongue in cheek about company culture, and I've seen you have that series that was like the CFO and CEO get fired from like lawn care job, and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You guys, you're having a good time with your videos. Do you have any ads where like, you've really, taken that like, and I don't know, I think it's a genre. Like, I don't have a right genre for it, but like the Dr. Squatch point of view where,
Oh
it's just
yeah.
total.
A couple years ago, we made a video called Deck Pics.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's like a guy. The premise is someone calls into our customer support, and it's this guy from New Zealand, and the way they say "deck" sounds like something else. Oh, I gotta take a picture of me dick,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
sounds funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the premise is, hold on, I've lost the internet. No, I'm good. Gosh, right in the middle of my story. Okay, so the idea is this guy calls into our customer support, and he's saying he's going to take a picture of his deck. Our person is hearing something else. It's kind of escalating, like, hey, you can't do that. And he's like describing his deck, and
Yeah.
it's like the nicest one on the street, and
Yeah.
like there's a lot of that. So we've gone that, and I'm looking at Aiden right through this window. He can't hear me, but he runs our social media to basically, hey, we don't want to be mean or cruel for the sake of it, like, at all. But I want to have a higher threshold for humor, and kind of just what we actually think is funny, and not be kind of like tightened up corporate type of people. Uh, because, well, I like things that are interesting and not boring. Fundamentally, like, boring. There is. there's a safety in boring, right? You just make informational ads or something. They're probably not going to totally flop or be terrible, but you have no opportunity for like a big upside. And so I want to do stuff that is at least potentially funny, compelling, and memorable. I say around here a lot, like it's better to be different than it is to be better. Which what I mean there is like being recognizable, being memorable, like holding like owning real estate in someone's mind in a unique spot where it's not like, oh, this is one of 10 power washing companies, but it's like,
Mhm.
oh no, these are the X people, where it's like
Yeah.
there's some space that you can hold that is yours. That's more important than being like 10% better than the next person doing the same thing they're doing. And we try to do that with like our content. And we shot one last week, which is a spoof on it's like a couple driving around and he's pointing and he's like, oh honey, we did that house over there, I did that job, and he's like
Hmm.
pointing at all the jobs I did, and she's like, now that he got company cam, he does this on the couch, so he's sitting at it looking at his
Yeah.
phone, honey, look at
Yeah.
the job I did. So we're trying to come up with that, and we're trying to do that, but we're also trying to communicate the value of the product and not let the humor or the joke or whatever be the only thing. Like it needs to lead into an explanation of what we're actually doing. And that's what I'm pretty happy with, is we've done that quite well. Um, and no one's gotten fired, and I haven't gotten any angry emails about it yet. So that's good.
Well,
Well, I think that's the difference.
Go ahead.
Sorry, as you said, I think that's the difference between like a TV commercial and like the memorable Super Bowl commercials, right? Like, there's some of them that are funny that like stick in your head that you can remember. It's like, oh, and then you go and like YouTube is like best Super
Mm-hmm.
Bowl commercials of the last 10 years, and you can remember some of them. Whereas like I'm not going to remember like a Dawn dish soap commercial ever. Like, yeah, I got the point across and it got their brand in front of me, but I think that's something Brad and I talk a lot about. Is like there's a difference between like lead generation and demand creation,
Mm.
and we talk a lot about that, about how important it is to meet people where they are and make content that they will actually enjoy and want to consume, and not just ads over and over again that people are going to wait for the 3 seconds to be up so they can click past it.
Oh, I can't. I've been watching football lately and sports on TV,
Oh, yeah.
because it's the season, and like there's some great commercials, but the amount of just mailed in absolute garbage I see for TV commercials, where I'm like, and it's high budget. It's clearly high budget. They shot like 14 different scenes, or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and spent heaven knows how much money to shoot this worthless ad that is like totally undifferentiated. It's just like, oh, you're a sports fan, haha, we're at the game, and it's just like, this is terrible garbage, and yet they've paid someone, I don't know how much money, to shoot these commercials, when there's something, like you're saying, actually interesting, actually connected to what real people are doing, that they've just looked right past. And yeah, I don't know. I to me, it's all going that direction, where the more that almost the ads are the entertainment, and that you can, as a company, like, not that you're going to be the best thing on the internet, but you can endear yourself to people, uh by being entertaining and capturing their attention, and we have less and less patience for things that don't do that.
Yeah, I recently bought a water bottle. You know, everyone carries around like a water bottle.
One of
It
those
has
giant
a
Stanley ones, yeah.
My wife has like two of the huge ones, but this one's like it's pretty compact, but it has a coffee mug that can screw into the bottom of it, like
Mm.
insets into it. And I bought it because it was like on a like 2 or 3 years ago. It was on like a YouTube ad, and like 3 minutes in the ad, I realized like, yeah, I was just like watching this ad, like that was the
Mm-hmm.
video I went to seek out. I was like, it was entertaining, it was funny, and at the end, I was like, yeah, that's cool. So I clicked on the website. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool product too, and then I bought it, and like now that's a water bottle I carry around for only the fact that they had a good ad that
Yep.
got me beyond the 5 seconds where you can skip it.
I think the highest aim for, the content that we create as companies in today's world is to cross that barrier of being remarkable. You know, we have this like amazing interconnectivity that if we like anything, we don't tell someone the next time we sit down with them at their house. We click share, we click send in
Mm-hmm.
a direct message. And, you know, I think that's the highest, you know, aim that we can have, is that we need to be create, you know, if we want to take full advantage, it's that content that people feel compelled to reshare, to make comments about, to, you know, like my friends got to see this, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's that aim. And, you know, I really kind of jive with what you're saying. You know, it's this, I get tired of making videos that are stiff, you know, stiffed brand videos, stiff product videos, like stuff like that. And I get it that, you know, happy to do it, happy to make it. But, you know, like, you know, our aim is to work with companies who are like, hey, how do we, one, you know, bring consumer grade media into our content? You know, not necessarily the ads, but how do we bring consumer grade media where it's like very entertaining, story driven content? And then how do we have a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more fun with the actual ads that we make? You know, how do we, like, you know, shoot for remarkability? And those are the projects that get me excited, especially like in these spaces, like, right, like around home
Oh
services
yeah.
and around anything in B2B. You know, but there's just like, it's very slow. And I think you guys have so much opportunity here because your audience, the contractor audience, is very receptive to a little bit
Yes.
less serious media, right? Like, we're not talking about
But
audience
it
going to be
is,
offended.
people see the risk though. Like they imagine, like if one person hits you up or comments and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe this." My mom commented on one of ours. No, 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 because she was like, she thought it because they bleeped out the F word, but there was something in there, and she was like, "This is not okay." And then Aiden from our team is like, I'm like, Aiden, no one. She's fine. I'll handle my mom. Don't worry about my mom commenting on our posts. Like, you just do what you know you need to do. You do the right thing, and and go for it. But like when you do try to step out there and make something more creative, make something funny. I mean, it's hard to do. First of all,
No,
it's
yeah,
actually just hard. It's not easy,
yeah,
but it's also riskier. Like it's riskier to you personally. Like the more you put into something, the more failure means and maybe the more it says about you. This is the stuff you worry about versus if you just make, oh, this is just information. I'm just typing up some information here, that if no one likes that, whatever, I didn't really try that hard, can't be on me type of thing. That there's a lot of reasons like and why I think people avoid trying to do it, but you are, to me, you're limiting your upside and what's possible for you by not at least trying. And if you can get through, this is true with anything. For me, it's been playing the drums, speaking Spanish, probably more. You have to be willing to look stupid. Like if you're not willing to look stupid, you will not go from being new at something to ever being good at it. And if you can't make peace with that, then you'll just never try anything new. You'll never get out there. And that goes with any sort of creative endeavor or learning. You'll be embarrassed by things that you did. They're not all going to work. Some people are going to make fun of you. Um, but like, and if that stops you, then that stops you. And the rest of us are going to be out here doing better and getting something done. But like, you have to be able to persevere through that. And you have to just decide, like, it's very rarely ever is someone who's doing better than you going to be the person being like, this sucks and this is terrible. Like we have people commenting on our stuff. People make fun of me. The amount of people on Facebook right this minute, like making fun of me, how I look, whatever, is a lot. There's a lot of people. And I just don't care. Um, because you just have to stop caring. And I usually I think, I don't know. I'm also like my worst critic. Like we make stuff that people really like that I don't think is very good. But, sorry, I want to tie this back because Brad, you had said something about sharing. We just did that post I was talking about with the kind of the joke about the husband pointing out all the jobs around town that he's done when they're driving around. That one is right now it's at 190 shares, and I don't know, it's got a couple hundred likes, but like to me those, and that's just an organic post, like that, like you said, that sharing to me is the thing. It's easy to tap like, people tap like for a lot of reasons. And look, hey, we'd all like to get more likes, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But that sharing is when you've tapped into something that you're like, okay, someone else needs to see this, or oh, this, like it hits that note, because I'll get things from my wife to me or my friends or whatever. And it's like, that is when I feel like you're kind of, you're speaking to something there. Um, and that's what I told them. Like, this is what we're aiming at. This is the new record. Like this year, 190 shares on just an organic social post. How do we get more?
I
You got any tips? That's not a rhetorical question.
I love your perspective on that. I guess my question is, I think you're sitting on the other side of that, and you have a lot of commonality with the contractors that you speak to. Like, what it's like to be in their world. Uh, you
Mm-hmm.
know what it's like to start a company that serves their world. And, like you said, people are afraid. They're afraid of the criticism. They're afraid of the risks. Like, what if someone, what if it rubs someone the wrong way or makes someone mad or whatever? And you talked about that perseverance. I mean, what's the advice that you give to the business owner, and whether it's a contractor or a vendor or whatever, to how do they transition to taking this new perspective? Like, how do they actually like do that?
That's a good question. To me, there's a mindset shift around that, which is to say, the amount I think people care. I'm going to back up. There's a quote, which is some version of like, we all worry about people and what they think of us, but they're actually not thinking of us.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking of
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And I think we worry a lot about that. And just in a sense, realizing that and realizing, hey, what if I did this and it was terrible and it was embarrassing? Who's the person that I would want the least to make fun of me about this, or whatever, or something? You just kind of imagine that thing that would happen, that would be that moment of like humiliation. And even just imagining that, and then saying, oh, I could get through that. That would be okay. Like, I wouldn't like it. And I've thought about that with this business a lot. Like, this, I want this business to succeed. And it has a lot more than I thought that it ever would. But I remember some of this is imagined, but some of this is just you're hearing your critics or whatever being like, oh, this roofer thinks that he can do a startup and make an app. And, that kind of like that idea of, if you do fail, then everyone who was a naysayer and who was doing whatever, well, they're right. And then they get to rub it in and they get to do this thing. And just like deciding that that will be okay, I think is the antidote. But you have to decide that ahead of time. Otherwise, and if you haven't decided that, then you're probably worried about it and you may not even know it. And that can be something that's sort of stopping you from acting or preventing you from doing it. And I don't mean to say you've got to do it the way we're doing it, or you've got to have this, everything needs to try to be funny or off color or something like that. By no means. But it's like, if you were going to put yourself out there more, what would that look like, and what is stopping you from doing that? And I think tons of people have a lot to add and to say, and know that they could do more if they were willing to try it, and know that when they first start, they will actually suck at it and they will look stupid, but that is not where it ends, and that you can get to the point where you where it really works for your business, for you and your business.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like authenticity. Like, you look at the most successful comedians or whatever, like they're always the
Mm-hmm.
ones that beat everybody else to the punchline about themselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's much better to embrace that side of it than be so caught up in what someone else is going to say. Like, and that's where I think that it seems like you guys succeed pretty well, is like in some of your videos I see too, kind of like that self-deprecating humor, or like making fun of each other, like the CEO and CFO video you guys did, like
Oh
actively
man, I
making fun of
burned
each.
him to the ground because
Yeah,
he's
like,
pathetic.
yeah, like absolutely making fun of each other, and like just getting ahead of that, because now anyone who like goes on that video and says comments like, I can't believe these guys are so out of shape. It's like, oh, too late. I already said it myself. Like, like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
gonna, what else are you going to say? Like, you
We
get rid of
know.
that whole thing.
No, and to that point, I don't even think that video is very good. Like, what I was talking to this team. I'm looking at our creative team, kind of video marketing right out my office here, and that, hey, this first one we do, it's probably not going to be very good. We might do 10 that aren't very good. What we have to do is we have to get good at making them. We have to make them so that we can learn. We have to just go through that process so that we can be good. Because if we don't do these, then we'll never be good. And we can't expect everything to come out. But yeah. And watching it afterwards, it's like, okay, there's some funny moments here, but is this actually a compelling thing that people will really care about in 100 years? No, definitely not. But did we learn something for next time? Yep. And we'll try that. And just to me, there's just that mindset in software. You say this a lot, like you just have to ship, you have to make things and get them out into the world. And you can't try to perfect everything. It doesn't all have to be exactly what you want it. You have to get it out there, and then you can learn, and then you can get better. And that goes for marketing. I think it's true a lot across the board. Yeah, it's just a fact.
You said something early on that in my mind ties into this, that at some point you realize that, there's so much objection to adopting the tool, right? And at some point you realize that the goal is not to convince the people that they need to take the photos or that this matters or you got to do something. It is, how do I connect with the people who know they need it, want to do it, and I'm giving them something to empower them. And I kind of feel like, you could apply that to this, taking a, unique approach in your media and your content and the brand that you put out there, that it's like, this isn't about, I'm not doing this for the people that were going to make fun of it or hate it, regardless of what I do. I'm doing this for the people who get it. I'm doing this for the people because I know that 20% or 30% are going to resonate with this message, and they're going to appreciate that we put it out there. And there's going to be some who don't like it no matter what we do. And that's okay.
Absolutely. I love that.
Well, I want to be really respectful of your time. We're at the top of the hour. Luke, man, it's been fun. I feel like we covered about 10% of what I would have liked to, and we like bumbled around. We didn't even talk a lot about Company Cam. How can people kind of get in touch with you? I mean, I know companycam.com is, where would you like to send people to learn more and see some of your media and all that?
We at Company Cam on everything, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, around the internet. That's where we're at. You can find us. Write a mean comment about me on there. No. But otherwise you can go to our website and check it out. We do like a 2-week free trial, so you can try it. You don't risk anything. See if you like it. We didn't talk. I'll tell you what, we should in the future. We're doing some kind of, I want to say it's AI stuff, because it sort of is, but I don't know. We're working on some really cool stuff that I really like, that is not gimmicky. It's just to that point of making it easier for everyone. If it doesn't actually save you time, then it's no one's going to do it. We've got some stuff coming down the pipe that we should talk about sometime down the road. It'll be live then. We could run through it. But otherwise, this was a great time. You let me probably talk too much. That's my feedback. You let me just ramble on, going all sorts of directions when you could have. No, I would love to talk about other stuff that's on your mind and come back sometime, because this was great.
Yeah, we appreciate
Thank you so much, Luke. I look forward to it. I'm going to hold you to it. Would love to talk about all those things, as well as, wherever it goes, man. That's what, like, we started this whole thing out. Like, it's just fun for the conversation. So thanks again, man.
It's a fun ride. Yeah. Glad to do it. See you guys.